when you are sending out emails, I don't want you to think I'm trying to sell them. I don't want you to think I'm trying to pitch them. I want you to think, how can I serve these people right now? Hello there, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. By the time you hear this episode, I will have gone with Jason and the girls. We will have flown out to Phoenix, where Easton, who helps on this podcast and does all the titling and puts it onto YouTube so you can watch the podcast, where he will have graduated college a whole year early. And son, I'm so proud of you. And so if you're watching on YouTube and you would like to put a comment below to Easton, he's got a degree in marketing. He's got a job that he starts in May. And we are delighted and just super proud of all of your hard work, your amazing grades, your discipline, all the things, Easton. So congratulations, son. I wanted to say that right off the bat before we have this podcast. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you can always just tag Easton Allwood if you want on Instagram and do a little shout out to him there. But this is going to be a fun podcast. I'm doing something totally different today. So I am just answering some business questions that you guys essentially sent in to me. I asked for them. I did this post on April the 14th. I said, hey, I'm recording a podcast and I'll read it to you for the Jennifer Allwood Show, based on questions from you guys. So how can I help? What burning questions do you have? What is keeping you stuck? And I'm going to answer on the recording. And that's what I'm going to do today. I got some great questions. I'm just taking them in the order that they were received, if I think that I can do them justice in answering them. And, I always think that all questions are good questions. I think that if one person has a question about building their business, probably other people do as well. So hopefully there's some value here. And I'm going to take the question first from Donna Chop. Okay, so Donna says, how do you know when to call it quits and if to close a brick and mortar? Okay, so Donna, I just did a podcast episode. So funny that this would be the first one. I haven't read through all these, by the way, because one of my favorite things to do is just to like shoot from the hip. That's one of the reasons why I love doing television. I did a lot of television in Kansas City because it's live and you have to be a decent communicator and be able to think quickly, and not tooting my own horn, but I just happen to be wired really well for that. I really like that. So I have not read through all these questions. So I just Googled one of the answers I need to give you. So Donna, I want you to Google Jennifer Allwood podcast, episode 529. By the time this comes out, it probably will be two weeks old. It's the podcast episode I did with my friend Laura Meyer. And the podcast is entitled What I'd Never Do Again in Business with Laura Meyer. Now, basically on this podcast, what her and I talk about is the two different businesses that she grew to over $1 million a year. One was a brick and mortar and the other was online. And she talks a lot about where she went wrong in her brick and mortar, what numbers she wasn't looking at, what mistakes she made, how pride had something to do with that, et cetera. So I want you to go listen to that episode. There may be a nugget in there that helps you. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if the Lord has said it's time to close it, then it's time to close it yesterday. I said what I said. I mean, delayed obedience is disobedience. And so if the Lord's calling you to end something, you have no idea what's on the other side of your obedience. So like get that sucker shut down today. I'll also tell you this. There are times, when we have things that are seasonal, such as if you have a lease on the building that you're renting. Well, a good time to consider a close would be when that lease, comes around, right? So for instance, Noah Allwood is moving back to Kansas City this week with Easton, who's graduating from college. And Jason and I are selling our property out in Phoenix because our season in Arizona as a family is done. And it turned out that Noah's lease on his apartment was up 7 days before Easton graduated and 10 days before we had accepted an offer on our property out there for some people to purchase it. And so it's like the timing of all that just felt really like, is the word serendipitous? I don't even know, but it just felt like it was all working out. And so if you are at a place where you're needing to like decide when those sorts of things like a lease expiration date comes around, those are good times to figure out what is it that you actually want. And so make sure that you're keeping the brick and mortar for the right reasons. Make sure it makes sense. Make sure if you're married, you're in agreement with your spouse. And I hope that that's helpful. Okay, so next question is from, is this your name? Hot Diggity Do? It must be your business name, Hot Diggity Do, like D-O. So, okay, here's what she says. I'm stuck on the technical stuff, setting up online shopping cart, website, shipping, email, etc. Should I hire someone to do it and teach you how to use it? Okay, I want you to like run and not walk over to equipped360.com. EQUIPT 360.com. This is my all-in-one marketing software that we have had for 2 years. It is, we white labeled a software that has millions and millions and millions of users here in the United States. It is an all-in-one marketing software. You can have a shopping cart, you can set up your email, you can have your website all in one place, landing pages, your email platform. You can host a course, you can host your membership site, you can text people through Equip 360. So I want you to go and sign up for that immediately. There is a monthly fee to it, and you can hire virtual assistants from Team Allwood to set everything up for you. So in your case, hot diggity do, if you're stuck, you're losing dollars every day. That's just the bottom line for you and everybody else. Every day that you don't have a website or a place for people to swipe a card online to pay you for your coaching, consulting, your products, whatever, you're missing out. You're missing dollars. And so while you're, trying to figure it all out, you could just be hiring somebody to have it done, in the next week or so. So go and do that. Good luck to you. Next question is dun, 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 dun from Tammy Dooley Babb. Tammy Dooley Babb, are you related to Mary Sue Babb? Mary Sue has been a friend of ours for 20 some years. So curious. All right. She said, if you were in the early stages of your business again, Jennifer, knowing what you know now, what would you focus on more, spend more time on? What things would you let go of, not do again, or change? Well, let me say this. Business is much different now than when I grew my painting company. I started that in 1999, made it official in the year 2000. That was 25 years ago. So things are a lot different. I can tell you what hung me up though years ago that I wish I had just gotten over quicker. And it's probably not the answer that you think, Tammy, but I was so caught up in what people thought about what I was doing. I was really concerned about my reputation. I knew there was a lot of people in the painting industry because essentially I was teaching other painters and DIYers how to paint with online videos, webinars, etc. That had not been a thing in our industry yet, like at all. So I got a lot of pushback. And I had a lot of people, there was talk about me in Facebook groups and people threatening to egg my home. Yeah. And they might have been joking, but it's not funny when you're reading about yourself on the internet. People were openly pissed off at me because I was talking about industry secrets and I wasn't even that good of a painter. And who do I think I am? And it was just ugly, which says so much more about those people than about me, by the way. But that was the first time in my life I'd ever had to go to therapy. Now, let me just say this. I was raised in a pretty volatile household. I'm downplaying this just in case family members are listening. With a lot of issues, a lot of problems. I found out that, about my real father when I was 12 years old in a very traumatic fashion. I found out again more information when I was 16 about my biological father. It was also very traumatic. If you read Fear's Not the Boss of You, you know that I was in a long-term relationship with someone before my husband. And we had lived together for 3 years back when I wasn't really walking with Jesus. And I came home one day and he had taken everything out of my home. So for all practical purposes, we're going to say robbed. I had 2 miscarriages. Jason and I almost got divorced our first year of marriage. But the thing that put me into my first therapy session was people talking about me on the internet. Like I'd went through all that other bullcrap in my lifetime. And the thing that put me in therapy was needing to get over other people's opinions of me and needing to figure out how do I do what God's calling me to do and what I want to do when I'm so like hurt by people and I can't believe that they would talk about me. And, it's things that I would never have done. And especially in such a public fashion, and it broke me in a lot of ways. So I wish that I had figured out why I was getting stuck much sooner and that I quit being, you know, just trapped by the opinions of others. And the Bible does say that, fear of man is a snare, which means that when we're so scared of other people's opinions of us, it will keep us trapped. And that kept me smaller than what I needed to be in the online space for much longer than I should have been. The other thing, if you're looking for like a practical business tip, Tammy, is I wish I had started to focus on my email list so much sooner than I did. So if you do not have an email list, would you please go to equip360.com, sign up, start an email list with us, because that's the only way you can communicate with people. If Facebook goes bad, if Instagram goes down, if TikTok goes sideways, like if social media is no longer, how are you going to talk to clients? And it's going to be email. So those are the two things that I wish that I would have focused on. So, Kaylee Ebersole says, how to scale a business so you don't own your job. Okay. And I replied to her and I said, can you explain this to me a little more? And then she said, I started a painting business. So, first of all, congratulations, Kaylee. I'm a one woman show. How do I get past this phase and into the phase of hiring women to work for me so that I can then work on growing and scaling? I hope that's enough info. Yes. Okay. So, this is exactly what I did. So, I started my painting company. I was painting for fun for people in 1999. In the year 2000, I started my decorative painting company called The Magic Brush. And I like to joke that about 10 minutes after I started it, I got pregnant with Noah Allwood. Okay, maybe not 10 minutes, but close enough. Okay. So I painted up until the point that I was 8 months pregnant. The last day that I painted for my own company in that way by myself, solo, as a solo entrepreneur, was I was 8 months pregnant. I was in a woman's bathroom at an Overland Park, Kansas. And those of you in Overland Park, shout out. I did such a ton of work out there. And so I'm in this lady's bathroom, and I did a lot of gorgeous houses, you guys, gorgeous. So her bathroom was probably 15 foot tall, but it was narrow, so I couldn't get scaffolding in. So I had to put an extension ladder in the master bathroom. And so and it was in the middle of a room, like leaning up against a ceiling. And, my doctor knew that I was on ladders. I didn't feel like I was being, what's the word? I didn't feel like I was being reckless, but I knew I was also getting bigger. Okay. I wasn't one of those girls who, when they got pregnant, they had a little basketball in their belly. That was never me. I was the size of a whole car by the time I delivered Noah Allwood. I gained 54 pounds and weighed almost 200 pounds the day I delivered him. Okay. So, and they induced me 2 weeks early. He was huge. He was a linebacker when he came out. He almost broke my pelvis. That's how large his shoulders were on my small little frame. And so at 8 months pregnant, I was big. I was big. Okay. So, when your belly sticks way out, to shimmy up an extension ladder is not the easiest. But what tripped me up literally was coming down off an extension ladder in that lady's 2-story bathroom. I just missed the bottom step one day. I missed the bottom step. And so when I went to step down to what I thought was the floor, I had missed a step. So I stepped way down and kind of stumbled. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I remember I went home and told Jason, we had already had one miscarriage at that point, of no fault of our own, by the way. There was never a heartbeat on that child. And so I didn't want you to think it was because I was, around paint or something. But Jason's like, honey, you got to stop. And I'm like, I know. And then the doctors ended up putting me on bed rest. So because my blood pressure was bad and it was just a mess at the very end of that pregnancy. So I can remember calling up my sister-in-law, and essentially our conversation went kind of something like this: Kaylee, look, I am the size of a small house and I need help finishing some painting jobs that I already agreed to do. I don't know what this could look like. Would you take X amount of dollars an hour, and just come paint for me or with me? I can take you to a job site, show you what it's going to look like. Da, 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 da. And she was like, sure. And so she ended up working for me for 11 or 12 years. My sister-in-law did full time, painting for me every single day. At the end of my painting career, 17 years later, there was 8 women who were painting for me full time. And so here's what basically happened. I would go out and I would price the jobs wanting to make at least half of everything after we took out what I paid my girls to paint for me, after I took out the cost of supplies, and if I had to pay, a fee to a designer or what have you. And so the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out, can you find somebody that you trust enough to do a B+ job? You might have to train them. They might not do it perfectly. You might not love it at first, but are you willing to trust yourself as a trainer and a teacher, first of all, and trust that you teach somebody how to do things without being controlled by the fear that they may leave you and go out on their own and steal all your secrets, etc. This is where people get tripped up. I'm telling you. People stay small because you've got a small mentality of if I share all the things, what if somebody screws me over? Okay. Also, what if they don't? I mean, I have a director of operations right now and a director of sales and marketing and my community manager, project manager. Like they all know all of the things, all of the passwords, how to do all the things with our clients. You know, you like people get consumed by not hiring others because they're so terrified of what others will do to them. To which I say, that is sad that you have been screwed over and you're that terrified and ruled by fear that you're not going to grow simply because you refuse to do the things necessary to grow, which includes hiring other people. Okay. And so, do we need to have wisdom? Absolutely, we do. But do we also need to just trust in ourselves to train people? Trust that inherently most people are good. They're not out to get you, honestly. Do we have the ability to trust the Lord with the decisions going forward? Lord, I feel like it's time for me to hire someone. I don't know who that person should be, but Lord, would you have somebody even approach me? Would you have somebody even tell me, hey, if you ever need someone? Or would you bring back to mind maybe somebody that's already said it in the past? And then, Lord, would you give me wisdom on who to hire and who not? Show me red flags before they're even fully red flags. Show me what I need to do in order to not get burned, in order not to what. Teach me what I need to in order to be good at this. Let me be a better teacher than what I feel like I'm going to be. Like, you need to like say those kind of prayers. And that's the first thing you're going to need to do is to figure out who you can hire. And this is the conversation. Right now, I have a couple jobs coming up. I don't know how long I can do this for, but I really, I would love, to talk to you about this. And you're just hiring somebody on a contractor basis, and then talk to your like bookkeeper, or whatever. Make sure that the way you're treating said contractor falls in line with your state for what a contractor looks like. And Kaylee, go chase after that thing because that will give you, you'll make half the amount of money, but you'll get back all your time. And during that time, you're out marketing the company because what's not making you money, you think you're making money actually in painting. I'm going to do an entire podcast on this. What actually makes you the money is the marketing of the painting. If you can get good at the marketing, you'll rule in the painting industry, not because you're the best painter, because you're best at marketing. Okay, so there you go. All right, next question is from a sweet, precious woman named Jennifer. Nice name. Skellinger. That's an interesting last name. Skellinger. I love it. Okay. How do I get email pitches to connect and not just hear crickets? Okay, so when you are emailing people, I want you to know that if you're asking them to buy something, then it might not be the email that's bad. It might be the offer. Okay. So if people aren't buying, it's one of a couple things. You're trying to sell them the wrong thing. It's something they literally don't want at the wrong price. It's either a price too low or too high. It doesn't necessarily automatically mean it's too high. Lots of times people don't buy because you've got something so underpriced, they don't believe there's any value to it. Are you selling it at the wrong time? Meaning right now, if you're coming in and trying to sell memberships to Blockbuster, nobody's buying that because Blockbuster is dead and gone, right? It's not the right time for that. The right time for that was 10 years ago. Or are you selling to the wrong people? For instance, when I used to send out a lot of emails, it was to an email audience who had gotten on my email list because they wanted to buy DIY painting videos from me. So then when I started talking about coaching, these were DIYers. These weren't people that were even remotely interested in doing something as a business. And so I had the wrong people on my list for certain offers. So if you're getting crickets, it could be that you're selling the wrong thing to the wrong people at the wrong time or for the wrong price. Okay. That's number one. Number two, are you asking them to like go over to your sales page? What is your conversion number? Like, what is your percentage rate of the number of people going over the page? If you can get that to be anywhere near 4 to 6%, we're going to consider that a win. And then I want to make sure you have analytics set up on your sales page so you know the number of people getting there and you understand what your rate of conversion is once they get there. Because if you don't have enough people open up your email, I have a whole training on what you need to look at. If you have people opening your email, at least a 25% open rate, but they're not clicking to the link in your email, you haven't done a good job of positioning that well. You haven't told them why they need to click the link to go over to your sales page. If they get to your sales page and they're not buying, it's because it's the wrong thing, wrong time, wrong person, wrong price. Does that make sense? And so I have a whole entire training on email things. Let me see if I can, hang on a second. I'll see if I can find a URL for you. Dun, 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 dun. Since I didn't look at any of these questions beforehand, I don't have all this stuff ready for you. Um, shoot, how do I do this? Well, if I go to if you're watching me right now, on YouTube, yes, I'm a little bit chaotic, but hang tight here. I'm going to find a link for you. Go to, well, shoot, that's not going to help you. I wasn't sure if you could still go to Jennifer Allwood links.com/idea to opt in. That's going to help you to get more people onto your email list. It's going to give you some of our stats. I wasn't sure that URL still works. If you have any trouble with that, let me know, but I would go there, see if you can get some free help. Okay. Also, when you are pitching, I want you to quit thinking of pitching in an email. I want you to think and just change your verbiage. You're serving. That's what I want you to think of. Okay. When you are sending out emails, I don't want you to think I'm trying to sell them. I don't want you to think I'm trying to pitch them. I want you to think, how can I serve these people right now? What can I give them in this email? And how can I position the email so that it makes sense, so that they feel like they are getting something out of it, so that they, they feel like it's a win. Because when you're thinking about pitching, it just changes kind of how you word things and how it's perceived. So I hope that that helps. All right, let's see. What else do I have for a question? One second here. Dun, 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 dun. That might be the majority of those questions. Is that it?
That very well could be. Hang on tight, friends. I felt like there was more. Let me look at the post here on my phone again. One moment, please. There were, oh, you know what? It's the Instagram questions. I asked it there too. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Dun, 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 dun. Let me sing to you guys. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. By the way, if any of you are in my coaching group, did you guys notice a big change on Voxer Day? You can now reply to one specific Voxer, just like you can if you are doing, if you're on an iPhone, and I think that's pretty cool. Okay, and now I'm not even going to be able to see. Okay, don't leave me yet, all right? Easton, Zeke, if you guys want to edit this part out, you can. Hang on here. But I literally just saw the screenshot of part 2, which for all the people that had questions on Instagram. I should have had this ready to go, but I also thought, okay, there it is.
Okay. M. Johnson 111469 says, I would like to start a business, but I have no idea even where to begin or how to source inventory. Okay. So until the whole tariff thing, kind of sorts itself out, I don't know that I would be doing anything that has to do with inventory right this very second. But what I would do is, if I were you, is I would go to dreambizblueprint.com. Okay. Dreambizblueprint.com. That is a short program that you can buy from me. It is cheap, and it essentially is it's going to help you figure out what you could do for a business. It talks about, some of the differences in brick and mortars, which is what it sounds like you would want to have if you're doing inventory, or maybe you're wanting to do what Jason does with his Fairway Finest golf gear and just store the inventory at your home. But I would go to dreambizblueprint.com and see what that kind of gives you as an instruction to do for a business there. Okay. Next question was from Smith and Sparrow. Who to trust as legit or accurate with so many people out there who are offering courses and information in my niche? I'm not talking about you or business coaches, but like Airbnb design, staging resources, certifications, etc. Okay. So, there's a couple things I would look at when you're looking for a coach and you're looking at a course. I would look for track record. Okay. If you have somebody who blew up overnight, more than likely they had one way that they did something, and they're going to teach you in their exact way. Okay. I used to teach a course on 8 different ways that you could make money in the online space, because I believe firmly that there are so many different ways of coming up and being successful in the online space. I've talked to you guys about, should you write a book? Should you do a podcast? Should you have a brick and mortar or only sell online? Like, there's a lot of different ways to do business. So if you have determined and decided what way you want to grow your business, you want to focus on courses, well, then take somebody that specializes in courses, but make sure it's from somebody that has been around a long time and has a track record. I also want to make sure that you're not only listening to what they say in terms of, I sold $10 million last year, but that you can see evidence of a lifestyle that you want as much as the money. Okay. Let me expand. There's plenty of people online who are talking about sales, and they're showing you numbers that are smoke and mirrors. Because in the background, what they're not telling you is that they had, expenses that were in the multi six figures a month, that they had to pay $1 million last year out in affiliate revenue for other people to promote their stuff, that they're spending, 50,000 bajillion dollars every time they launch on ads. Like, they're not telling you all of that. So, but you can recognize success when you don't define success only in top line revenue. Okay. So, what you really need to figure out is, can you find a coach? Can you see someone who acts like they are at peace? Okay. Who's not running around like a coach with her head cut off, who is not doing all the things. She's figuring out a couple things and she's trying to do them really well, who has been around for a hot minute, who shows up consistently. It's just not, somebody that came on the scene last week. Can you tell by, does it look like the family is at peace, that the coach is taking plenty of time off, recognizes rest? Are you in alignment with them on things that are really, really important to you? If like your faith is really important to you, then find a Christian coach. And so I hope that that helps. And at the end of the day, pray and go in the direction that God tells you to go. All right, next question. Was also from Smith and Sparrow, who said, how do I get things legal in my state? The best way for taxes and profit? Like, do I do an LLC? And I think you were meaning an S Corp for the second thing. Contact a bookkeeper. And if you're like, I don't know who to get for bookkeeping, I want you to go to your personal Facebook and type in, hey guys, I need a bookkeeper for my small business, somebody that specializes in brick and mortars, or, businesses here only in Kansas City, or businesses in the online space, whatever. But you will have people who give you recommendations. I want you to either ask a bookkeeper who understands the different laws and rules of your state, or your tax person. And if you don't have either of those, I suggest you get them like yesterday if you're going to be a business owner. Because I guarantee you, if you are a business owner and you're listening to me talk right now and you're doing your own taxes, you are missing out on so many stinking deductions and opportunities because you're being cheap. I'm just saying, I'm just telling you like it is. You're being cheap and wanting to do your taxes by yourself. And as a business owner, unless you are a tax professional, let somebody else do that crap for you, because they're really good at that stuff and you are not. And you're missing opportunities to save. You don't understand the laws and things like they do. Take that time and grow your business. Focus on your marketing and let somebody else do your taxes so that they can keep you out of jail and so that everything is on the up and up. And you're like, oh, but I don't want to pay a couple $1,000s. Are you freaking kidding me? I did a podcast the other day on how changing tax people saved us multi six figures a year when you're in business. And we got an Airbnb, which saved us multi six figures a year in taxes that year. The right bookkeeper and tax person can make all the difference in the world. So there's that. Okay. Denise Nielsen, 05, said, I need business ideas. Go to dreambizblueprint.com. That will help you. Love and submission. Ooh. Wow, chicka, wow, wow. Love and Submission says, what do I do first? I have a website and recorded videos for a course. I don't know where to go next. Okay, so you have to find a platform that the course can sit on. So if you don't have a platform for the course to sit on, like Teachable or something like that, go to equipped360.com and use my software to do that. Because then you also get email and all the things. You need, in addition to your website, a Facebook and or Instagram and or Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, another social media. So make sure that you have that. And then you also need an email list. So if you've not started your email list, you'll use Equip 360 to do that as well. Okay. And then Christy Harrell 01 says, I need a business idea. I have no idea what I want to do other than I have no clue where to go. Okay. So also go to dreambizblueprint.com. Let me double check that I'm giving you guys the right URL, because wouldn't that be awful if I wasn't? And I want you to go there. And again, it is, it's going to walk you through how I've helped tons and tons of women figure out and pinpoint what it is that they're actually good at and that they could actually do for a business. Yep, it's still there. Dreambizblueprint.com. So, all right, my friends, I hope that this is really, really helpful. And if so, I'm like so excited. It makes me want to just do, if you're watching on YouTube, like if you have other questions you'd like for me to ask on an upcoming episode, like please just put the question there. Maybe I'll just start answering like one question at the end of every podcast or something. I used to be really good at doing that and could try to get back in the habit of doing that again. But I hope that that was beneficial to you. Anytime you have a question and you're like, do you have a course for this, Jennifer, or do you have a training or a freebie? You can always send an email to Jen, at jenniferallwood.com, and my team or I will respond to you in a timely manner. Okay. All righty. Much love to you. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye. Easton! Easton! Easton, you're graduated, son. By the time you see this, you are so graduated.